The U.S. State Department estimates that over 11,000 children from foreign countries were adopted by U.S. families in 2010 alone. The top 5 countries where the U.S. chooses to adopt are the People's Republic of China with an estimated 3,400 adoptions, Ethiopia with an estimated 2,600 adoptions, Russia with just over 1,000, South Korea with 863, and Ukraine with 445 adoptions. However, according to the U.S. State Department, there are at least 250,000 children who enter into U.S. foster care every year, and over 100,000 were still waiting to be adopted last year. So as people living in the country that has the largest number of adoptions by American families, what do Chinese people think about this? And do they have anything to say about the families who are seeking their children overseas? Well, let's cross over to the newsroom where our researcher Julia Liu has been following the issue. All right, thanks for joining us, Julia. First of all, I'd like to know, what exactly are people talking about when it comes to this?
Well, I know, I have to say that even though China's net users always appear to be quite angry when it comes to commenting, they really spared no effort in praising U.S. families for doing this. For example, this poster called "Taisha" says on Weibo.com, "The act of adopting kids shows real humanitarianism, which is quite impressive to us." And additionally, there are many posters discussing why Americans love to adopt kids much more than other countries. And firstly, some point out a few reasons why Americans prefer to go overseas to adopt instead of the U.S. This poster says, many Americans can't be unsympathetic when seeing tsunami or earthquake on TV. For example, the number of adopted kids increased dramatically when Haiti was hit with earthquake. And they also like to adopt kids from countries that they've been to before or have a relationship with their family background. And this poster further points out another reason that gives rise to this phenomenon, saying, some families also worry that adopting kids from the U.S. will bring too much interference with the kid's birth parents. They think that they'll have more control over the kid if they adopt from other countries. And some posters think it has a lot to do with the rather advanced system for caring for the elderly. This poster says on news.sh.cn, the U.S. has a very comprehensive healthcare system for the elderly. Old people don't have as much pressure to depend on their kids to take care of them. That releases a lot of pressure psychologically. And one thing that many people mention is that they feel that the motive that Americans people adopt kids is more pure.
Oh, you said pure. Pure. What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, in many Chinese net users' minds, the reason that many people adopt children is that they don't have one of their own. But that's not the situation in the U.S. For example, this poster says on news.sh.cn, many Americans' motive for adopting kids is not that they don't have the fertility, which is common among many people who adopt. Actually, many American families have a lot of kids already. They even prefer to adopt disabled kids so that they can get better medical treatment. This point is also something that is widely discussed. The fact that many Americans are adopting kids that have some kinds of congenital diseases. Lu Qiulu, a famous journalist from Hong Kong, has this to say on her blog on Sina.com. Many Americans do not simply adopt kids to add a member to the family. It's more to do with really caring. I once knew an American couple in Boston who adopted a Chinese kid who had serious heart disease, since that was the only way she could be treated and cured in the U.S. And this attitude has touched many people. For this poster, 闲适生活, he says on Weibo.com. I know an American guy who adopted a girl who only has one arm, and an American couple who adopted 3 kids with albinism. And there are also so many of them that come to China voluntarily to take care of these kinds of kids. I have to say that the charity that many foreigners are doing is much more pure.
Wow. Well, it's so good to hear that so many Chinese people have such a positive attitude when it comes to American families adopting Chinese babies. But I am assuming that it's not all good things that are being said, right? So what are the negative sides that are being discussed, and are they being discussed at all?
Well, the rather negative comments are not against American families who adopt the children, but on some Chinese people's behavior. Here's a piece of news that's mentioned quite often. Back in 2009, an orphanage in southwest China has been accused of taking children away from parents who can't afford fines for violating family planning policies and sending the kids overseas for adoption. And orphanage was reported earning $3,000 for each child placed with a foreign family. And similar occurrences was reported again recently, this time in Hunan province. Such news has aroused huge anger and concern online. This poster, 真的姓雪, has this to say. Now I really don't know who among the thousands of kids that are adopted are really orphans and abandoned kids and who were kidnapped for money. The whole thing is so disgusting. But there is also some criticism on the American adoption agencies. This poster says on QQ.com, some adoption organizations are privately owned and face huge competition, so they need to survive by receiving as many kids as possible. So they usually just ignore the illegal deals when they go abroad to get the kids. And finally, this poster has this suggestion, saying, the adopting countries, especially America, shouldn't depend on output countries when it comes to adopting procedure. They should thoroughly check out where the kids come from as well. In fact, all the countries involved should work together to guarantee transparency in international adoption.
Well, very good points from both sides of the issue. Thank you, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu on the reaction to the high number of Chinese babies in American homes. Coming up next, China's top searches, what's hot and trending on China's search engines.